Okay, we will review it for you. And 24 skies before that with Freedom for My Soul. And that brings us to the time of 16 minutes past 11 o'clock on this Monday. And on a Monday, we motivate you, we encourage you, and we also do that by encouraging you to climb the career ladder. We do it with a career strategist, and she goes by the name of Kodani Tlatrayo, and she is back with us today for a very, very important topic. Good morning and welcome back, Kodani.
Good morning. I'm glad to be back.
Thank you for coming back because I know that you always share amazing information with us. And today we're going to be discussing a topic which a lot of people, all right, always are always trying to ensure that they have their ducks in the row when it comes to this. We'll dive into that in a few minutes' time. But whoever doesn't, if there's any listener out there that doesn't know who Kodani is, can you introduce yourself and then we'll go straight into the topic?
Yeah, so Kodani Tlatrayo, that's the name on in the surname. I'm a career strategist, as Bantu has introduced, and I studied mechanical engineering. So I like to mention my qualification because, I mean, this is career climbing the career ladder. So therefore, it's career relevant. And I've studied a postgraduate diploma in business management. I currently work as a metrology team manager. I'm a mom and I'm a wife.
All right, so, but you are also passionate about, advising or encouraging or, challenging others to grow in their career and develop a career. And, one thing that we need for that is our CV. Okay.
Correct.
Now let's start by that. A lot of people say, I've been applying for a job, but I'm not being successful. Is it because of what is written on their CV?
It can be yes
Okay.
and then no.
All right.
And the reason why I'm saying this, I do CV reviews and I get some beautiful CVs, very written, and somebody says I've been unemployed for 2 years and this is the CV that I've been using. Is there anything wrong with my CV? And you look at the CV, it looks very good, but the problem is they probably not tailoring their CV to match what is required on the job advert, and also they don't follow up on their application. I mean, in 2024, guys, if you're applying for a job, do not wait for the recruiters to call you when your CV has been received.
But then it says, on the advert it will say, if you haven't been contacted in 2 weeks, know that you are unsuccessful.
I will contact you. I am not going to wait patiently for 2 weeks to end and I don't hear anything from you.
But am I not being forward if I do contact the recruiter or the company to ask, have you received my CV and?
I mean, there's nothing wrong with calling to ask if you have received my CV.
Okay.
What if I have sent my CV and you did not receive it? So checking in is always important, and for you to check in, it's, it's sort of like putting your name in someone's head
Yes.
that, hey, there's Kodani who have applied. So please look out for my CV.
And I mean, it puts you out of the crowd because I mean, I don't think there's anybody who does that follow up after submitting their CV. Now let's look at that. You do CV reviews, and I know for a fact that for me, a couple of years ago, before I was full time at Link, I used to have a very long CV, then I remember a lady who was mentoring me. She's like, by the way, it's irrelevant some of this information on here. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, 1 page. Put all the information on 1 page. And I'm like, why? I need them to know what I've done and all of that. She's like, some of this information is irrelevant. So let's talk about that. What information should be going on the CV?
Yeah. And when you talk about, information that is relevant, I don't really like to discuss the CV that I've reviewed before, but I think this is important for somebody who's, trying to make their CV stand out and make it short. One of the CVs that I went through yesterday, the gentleman had vision, he had personality traits, and then he had, but that CV was very long, and such information they're not important for your CV. I mean, the only key points that you should have on your CV as your header is your personal details, your career history, your education, skills, and reference.
Okay.
That's it. And in terms of it having the skills, it shouldn't be a long list of the skills. I think one of the CVs I reviewed yesterday also had more than 20 skills. I mean, you are one person, you only have like
one body
and the skills that you really have, like maybe probably looking at your strength are definitely not 20.
Okay.
Yeah, so you have to look at the realistic of things when you're putting on when you're writing your CV. And also, in terms of your work experience, that should be also short. Don't put it too long.
Okay.
We have discussed this before, that, for an example, writing things like welcoming people when they come into the branch, if you are working as a maybe sales consultant. I don't think that's really necessary for you to include in your CV, like making coffee for my boss. And you really do CVs with this information. You really do, and it's not necessary, guys. You need to write key points that will stand out. That's why aligning your CV with the job description is very important. And if you've got like a lot of experiences, like where you've got maybe worked for 3 different companies, look at how you can spread out your experience based on what is on the job advert. Don't just put it on just like maybe like the previous just one company and then you put all information there. Just spread it out.
Ask, when you have submitted your CV for a new job or opportunity, should we be putting also the reason why you left your previous job, or why you even looking for this new job?
No, rather remove it. Leave it for an interview, which they are definitely going to ask.
Okay, so they do ask those questions in the interview. So basically, what you're just giving them like a brief, this is who I am, when they read it. Another question that I want to ask is the picture. I recently, saw somebody's CV and they had a picture on it. Is that something that should be included as well on your CV?
I completely discourage putting your picture on your CV. Firstly, the ATS systems don't even recognize the CVs. Application tracking systems don't recognize the picture.
Okay.
Apparently, it gives an error. I'm not in HR. This is what I've heard from HR, that they get an error. However, people, when they look at your picture, they can be biased. I'm in engineering, and when you look at me, the way I look, you wouldn't think that I'm in engineering. When I go for career fair in different schools, the first question I ask is, which profession do you think I'm in?
And what do they say, by the way? I'm just asking, curious.
Some they say model. I'm like, what? And then some they say, what was the other one? I think the other one was like a celebrity or something.
Wow.
But these are kids, But the truth is, when you look at me, you wouldn't think that I'm in engineering because of just my skills that I have in engineering. They would focus more on the picture, that I don't think she do qualify, because sometimes when you just look at the picture, you think that someone is outgoing, but just the way they look, or maybe the way that I've taken the picture, maybe I'm smiling, the pose, and you think that no, this person, I don't think they would qualify for this job, or I don't think they would gel with the team. So don't allow your picture to be the distraction for you to get employed, because of like you being sort of like disqualified from just putting your picture. And it happens a lot, and trust me, I'm not saying that you shouldn't put a picture on your CV. It has to be dependent on the audience that you're sending your CV to. So that's why you have to learn your audience.
Agreed, because there are some, when you look through the job spec, it will say submit your picture with your CV.
Definitely.
So like for a marketing role, a brand, they do require for that. So understanding the job requirements, or the spec, the job spec which is advertised, but also knowing what company or the recruiter, what are they what are the expectations as well. Now we are having a conversation with the career strategist called Dani Hlabayo, and we're talking about the do's and don'ts basically, but in a brief manner of CV writing. Now we touched on the picture, we touched on the some of the things that we shouldn't have. Now information like address, does that matter? Should we be putting addresses as well on the CV? The reason why I'm asking that question, what if I'm based in East London, but I'm applying for position in Cape Town? Will that disqualify me from that position because of where I'm at currently?
I mean, that's the audience again. If you're in East London and you're applying for a job in Cape Town, I would discourage you not to put your address, because they may, if they're looking for somebody to start immediately, then they could be thinking of, oh, for your interview, we're going to have to pay for your fees to come to Cape Town for an interview. I mean, yes, now things are easier because of, virtual interviews. However, some companies that could be looking at like the relocation fees, all these fees that come with you having to relocate to Cape Town, and also the accessibility of you being away from Cape Town. So if you're applying for a job in a location where you're far from, you shouldn't. However, it could also work at a disadvantage, because now if you have to relocate and the company has the funds for relocation, then they might not pay for your funds. That's why it's quite important that you understand you understand the company that you're applying for, I mean the information of the company that you're applying for, and also when they do interviews, do they pay for the people, how big the company is. So it's quite important that you also understand those information, so that at least when you're applying, you would know whether you should put in your address or not. And then when it comes to putting in your address, with high unemployment rate in South Africa, when you are applying for, for example, Eastern Cape, and you're applying for a job in Eastern Cape, I would really highly recommend to include your address, because then you may find that most companies would prefer candidates that are in the Eastern Cape region. Sure. Yeah, because of the high unemployment rate issue, then maybe Eastern Cape would be working on combating the high unemployment rate. And then the focus would be, then the people that are within the
Yes, so that they can change the narrative as well. Now, another thing that I wanted to ask, would you advise, individuals to do like a CV review? Should we be reviewing our CVs? And why would you encourage somebody to review their CV? Maybe you've been in this job for a very long time, but should they be, reviewing that CV here and again, now and again?
If you check out my video on YouTube, I don't think you would really need a CV review. And I see a lot of people also paying for, for money for their CVs to be either revamped or, review. Not necessarily. I don't see a lot of people reviewing the CVs. I usually review the CVs, and I'll give you a reason why I review CVs instead of revamping.
Okay.
So when you pay a specific amount for somebody to revamp your CV, then you can't use a general CV to apply for a job. You have to always tailor your CV for a specific position that you're applying. So if then somebody tailors your CV or revamps your CV, and then you just apply with that CV, then you might struggle to get a job. Yeah, you must struggle to get a job. Yeah, so I wouldn't really advise people to pay for that. That was the question, right?
Yes, or rather having that review. Maybe you're applying for position, and then you say to somebody, please just check it. Do you think that I would then be?
Yeah, check-in is necessary, especially if you've applied once, twice, thrice, and then you don't get any callbacks. It's always important that you ask for somebody to review your CV. And besides asking for somebody to review your CV, it's also great to check up on with the companies that you've applied for, you just call them to find out what is the status of your application. You have applied, you never got any callbacks, or if you get rejected and then you're worried if then the issue is your CV, instead of really more going to somebody to review your CV, just find out from the company that has rejected you what was the issue for rejection, because you believe that you qualify for the job that you've applied for, therefore you would like to make some improvement. I don't think people can deprive you of that information. I know it's hard because not, in every job where maybe you've got 10 people, usually one person knows how to do their job perfectly, and the rest, just doing their jobs.
Agreed. I hear you on that one. And so, like the CV, the discussion around the CV is one that is very important because of what you mentioned that you've got this high unemployment rate, and I think we're not marketing ourselves as best as we can, or we don't have the necessary information that is required to apply for the positions that we want, and so therefore that number continues to climb higher and higher. But we need to change the status quo by ensuring that we are aligning ourselves to climb the career ladder. See what I did there? So,
definitely. And I think another thing that you should really look out for is networking. Don't wait for a job to come up and then you apply. Go knock on people's doors. Go find out if there are any opportunities. Attend events. There are a lot of events where, for example, I attended Qualification. I mean, the fee was like only 150, and event did for me is unspeakable.
Okay.
It's literally beyond what, like more than what the amount that I paid for.
Agreed.
So you need to look at, how you can leverage your network.
Okay.
And a lot of people are not doing that.
They're
so
not.
Go out there and meet people so that when jobs are out, then they remember you that, oh, actually, there is this person that I met and they spoke about what they are doing, and I think they would qualify for the job. Besides that, a lot of positions, when they're out now, they've got names behind them. And if you're not networking, then your any job will never have your name. So that's why it's quite important.
And I think
yeah,
that's a topic that we should be discussing also. One day, how the some people will maybe we can put it in this professional form by saying headhunting. People get headhunted, and so let's maybe discuss that here one day on climbing the career ladder. So, Kodani, if anybody would like to use your services of, reviewing CV, reviewing, preparing for interviews, and in your other services, how can they contact you?
So before I mention the contact, I think another point that I would like to also specify on CV that I see quite common right now is when, in the beginning of the CV, where you've got career objectives and career summary. And I feel like sometimes people are not using them correctly. So if your CV is too long and you would like somebody to zoom into your information, use career summary, because then you are able to just write a summary of your career. Then somebody wouldn't have to necessarily go and look for your work experience. They would find it right at the top.
Oh, wow.
And if you are still very new into your career, that's then you can put your career objectives, because those are the objectives that you want to achieve out of maybe the job that you're applying for. So let's try and look at the difference and use them correctly. So I think that can also boost your CV. So now going back to the question. So you can find me on LinkedIn at Kodani Hladrayo, on Instagram at Kodani_H, and then on email career.corporate@gmail.com, and then on TikTok at career and corporate hub.
All right, and there is a career and corporate hub number that they can WhatsApp on. Can you share that with the listeners as well? And if you don't know it, I do know it, because I shared it with somebody with the other day. So let me share it. Can I share it?
Yes, you can.
It is 064 542 6854 064 542 6854. And I know Kodani will assist with any climbing the career ladder, opportunities or reviews or preparing so that you can grow in your career. She will always be available, not always be available, but she will be of assistance to you for anybody who contact her.
Definitely. And with the number also, there are different WhatsApp groups for job hunting where different individuals are supporting each other. So I think it's quite great. We've got HR, engineering, finance, and it's quite a lot of people. I think HR has got more than 800 and something people that are there helping each other. Like when there are new jobs, they all post.
So good.
If you would like to join, you can also just send me a message on that number, then I'll add you in one of the groups.
Okay. If you would like me to share those contact details with you, send me a WhatsApp on the WhatsApp number 0729429270. 070. Anything else you want to add before we let you go, Kodani?
Maybe just because we're talking about CVs, I would just like to say I see a lot of people are panicking when they're not getting callbacks when they apply. They feel like something is wrong with their CVs. A lot of CVs that I've gone through recently, they look good. The problem is just not following up on your application and networking. So if you really strengthen your networking skills, it would definitely enhance your your application process.
All right. Thank you so much, Kodani, for sharing those insights for climbing the career ladder. Are you reading any book that you would like to recommend? I know we did a book review last week. Are you reading a new book, or are you currently still reading your book?
I'm still reading the same book as last time, yes, which is Master Mentors. By Scott Jeffrey Miller.
Right. So hopefully you will be done with that one soon and be sharing another book with us soon. So that was another edition of the Career Ladder with Kodani Sajayo.